Friends, fellows, countrymen, lend me your ears. Here we are. It is I, Stefano Zapata, no, Stiapnin Zapatates. How's everybody doing? I'll tell you, I'm a little tired today. A little tired today. It's one of those days. One of those days. And by one of those days, I do mean it's one of those weeks. Because, just a little, it's been a little crazy lately. Been a little crazy lately. Hold on, I'm just adjusting some stuff here. All right, what do I gotta do housekeeping wise? All right, I need to chill, so we're just gonna draw some classic stuff. Happy, easy, sketchy, mining from drawing the joy that is therein available. That's what I'm gonna do. Gonna draw my classic freaky monsters, no pressure, no stress, just doing whatever I want moment to moment, as I often advocate for. I do want, let me put this up here real quick because I think I will need this at various points. Just give me a second here. Calm down. Don't freak out. There we go. I just want people to know, I want to announce so that the word gets out there for your planning purposes that my course, as indicated in the top left of your screen, my course is going on sale at the end of this month for Black Friday, so that you know. So it'll be on sale, $100 off from November 21st to November 28th. Got to get that out there, blast that out there so that people know, so that they have the knowledge, so that they can plan, so that they can make decisions. So just wanted to make sure to say that. And I will leave that up there for just a couple of minutes so that people who file in will see it as well. Hello to Emmanuel Godson, Donnie Bereznak, Mikolaj Borkowski, Nerigius J, Civil Chaos 1, Jeffrey Ngo, Iron Penguin, Nathan Cabeza, Abron Atmos, John Torres, Nerigis Jade, did I already say hi to Nerigis? User number 2, Falls 3616, Christian Price, Sir Bob, Fropel, Oster, Sinocephalus, Emmanuel Godson, Chronorust, The Noble Saman Kutcher, and Dino Blaster. Taking chat advice and sticking that up there. I don't have one that's formatted just for stream, so for now, it'll go there. It won't be there for very long, I don't think. All right, everybody. Got a little bit of lo-fi music going in the background. I might brew some tea in a little bit. Got my nice, soft, warm pencils. Fresh out of the oven. That's the secret to getting buttery lines, is you gotta cook your pencils. You want it buttery? You're gonna have to cook them. So you preheat your oven, 450 degrees. Put your wax pencils in there for about 15-20 minutes. Draw with them while they're hot, scalding hot. And then when they cool down, get lukewarm, put them back in. That's why I like to have I usually have 20 pencils hot on my desk. I have another 20 going in the oven, and I rotate them so I don't have to wait. I've always got a fresh, hot batch of pencils ready to go. And that breaks down the binder and the pencils just right. You get a nice, soft, buttery line. That's the secret to the smooth shading. That's how you get beautiful drawings like mine. It's that simple. I know most of you already know that, but just for anybody who, you know, didn't go to a super expensive art school or something like that, so no one told them these things, that's how you do it. Sorry to bore all the people who already know that. Where's my eraser at? Akville says I can't tell if it's a joke or not. Just for the record, for the love of God, don't cook your pencils. Don't do that. I'm not liable for the loss of hundreds of dollars worth of pencils. Says me. Can you all hear the music? Is it just ambiently there in the background? Just enough? Unfortunately, the trucks outside my window are louder than the music, so if you can hear the music, you'll hear the trucks. New York City ambiance. That's what it's like to be an artist in New York City. You get to spend a lot of time contemplating the up-gearing and down-gearing of diesel engines. Is this drawing from imagination, or do you have a reference? I am working from imagination right now. Doing the close together nipples and the weirdly designed fanning pectorals that I found on that alien from Monday's stream. Why not? Fish flops with the 10 SGD donation again for the large coffee. Thank you so much, Fish Flops. Let me sing you a song to honor you. Give me a second. Let me turn down the professional music and hit you with this. All right. All right. Just give me a second. All right. All right. Fit. Fit. And just turn down my gain a little bit here. Fit. Fish flops, thank you for the 10 SGD, another large coffee for me. You freed me to drink coffee. Fish flops, I need to hold you close to me while I hold my precious coffee. Fish flops, come to me. All right. I think that should about do it. Gabriel Wentz says this is what we're here for. Yeah, I mean, we all know. No one's here for the drawing anymore. No one's here for the drawing anymore. Here for the world-class music. Steven, are you singing from imagination or are you using reference? From imagination, baby. And the Grammy for Best Grammy-winning song goes to Fish Flops, I Need to Hold You Next to Me with a Large Coffee Between Us donation dedication song by Steven Zapata. Oh, this is amazing. I never thought I'd win the Grammy for Best Grammy-winning song. If my application for a 6-month drawing course gets declined, I'm finally going to get Form from Imagination. Even though I'm incentivized to want you to not, for your application to not go through, I want it to go through. I want you to get your app in. I want you to get accepted to whatever the program is. I want you to have all the good things in your life. The rare double Grammy. Yeah, the implication is that I've already won a Grammy for the song. There's already a Grammy in the bank for Fish Flops, I Need to Hold You Close to Me with a Coffee Between Us stream donation dedication song. I've already won a Grammy for that. It's that I'm honored that I won the Grammy for Best Grammy-winning song. It's like I'm the champion amongst champions, and it's the winner amongst winners. There's a lot of layers. And Schaefer says, you ever sketch your dog trying to get better with fur sketching mine? It's a challenge mapping shadows on black and white fur. Yeah, I sketch my dog. Yeah, I sketch my dog. I have a couple. I don't want to go through my old files, but yeah, I sketch her like while I do my morning coffee. While I have my morning coffee sometimes. She's laying on the couch, but I did one on stream the other day. There, this demon dog that I did on stream the other day is my dog. That counts as a sketch of my pup. My little pup. Hold on a second. I'm gonna add something to my to-do list before I forget. Isn't it lovely to chill in the middle of the day on a Wednesday with some drawing? Geronimo Bonilla says, hey Stevens, about the art. Do you think you will do an art book someday? Probably someday. Not right now. They take there are a lot of overhead to print them on your own. If like a publisher came through and it was like the right publisher and they would do everything and just sort of take their cut, then I would consider it earlier. But these days, most art books, it's like you're self-publishing or you're doing it with a publisher of one, just an independent person with experience publishing art books. So you need to front a lot of the overhead up front. And from what I've heard from people who have done it and stuff like that, it's pretty huge. It's a huge amount of people. It's a huge amount of money. And even if you do it with a Kickstarter or something like that, my current audience size would be like, it'd be a stretch. It'd be like real tight. The margins would be really tight. So either when the right opportunity comes along or once the audience is bigger, that we can sell the art book to, which would make the margins more comfortable and less panic inducing. Someday. It's like, it's really easy with an independent art book. It'll become your life for like 2 to 3 years. It seems to do that for most people. It'll become your life for like 2 to 3 years and you won't make $1. You won't make $1 off of it. Which is, it's tough thing to commit to. If you do it independently. Again, if a publisher does everything for you, then it's much less of a big deal. I'm drawing with Steven Zapata by watching this live. So cool. It's really happening. That's the community you're in. There's 134 people in here. Most of them are probably drawing along with you. You're not alone in this world. There's a world of drawers out there. I like this ridiculous head I gave him. Let's spruce up this absurd head. Hey, Chris Maycock. I still don't feel safe after yesterday's town hall meeting. Yeah, how did the town hall go? Yeah, it was very interesting. Yeah, I understand what you mean about not feeling safe. I mean, it's not like, I don't think that town hall was meant to be like, oh, here's people from the copyright office to, you know, put our minds at ease. No, it was like, it's information gathering, you know, and more of that will need to happen. I was pretty interested in a lot of the points that they made. There's a lot of stuff that needs to get unpacked there. I was taking a lot of notes, and I'm going to watch back the whole thing at least once I get a little bit more time. But even when I was just looking at my notes through again, there's quite a few things in there that I found very reassuring, or let's say interesting, for the discussions that need to happen. I wouldn't say that it put my mind at ease, like you said, but there's a lot of things that, you know, non-professionals, myself included, are throwing around in these discussions about what's a valid line of inquiry, what's dead ends, like everybody has different incentives and stuff like that in these discussions. And it was really interesting to hear their actual professional feelings on those things. Like, for example, around fair use. A lot of the times when we're discussing this stuff online, people are using fair use and transformative aspects as saying, like, don't even look at this, end this discussion, give up today, give up yesterday. They have like a real dismissive tone based around fair use. It was very interesting in the town hall to hear them explain how fair use is non-exclusive, how a court will evaluate things other than the 4 elements, and how sort of none of them are primary, that it's still a fact-based case-to-case evaluation. Stuff like that, and there was more things like that, but stuff like that was very, very interesting to me. Also of note, I think, on that was how there's 2 areas of fair use evaluation in this discussion. There's a fair use evaluation on the part of the end user. Did they use it fair? But then there's also a separate fair use evaluation that needs to be made at the point of training the actual models. It's not just one monolithic fair use question. So I thought that was all very, very interesting. Have I seen Proco's recent Draftsman podcast on AI? Yes, I have. I thought it was good. You know, like they said, they mentioned in the middle there that some of the news that came out since then, my video included, kind of made the conversation a little bit dated. But I thought they brought up some very good points. There was some things in there that when I was listening to it, I was like, oh, I hadn't thought of that before. I think I'll go back and listen to it again. And someone said you need an interview with Proco. Yeah, I think we'll do something. I mean, they mentioned that they would be happy to. They mentioned both myself and Carlo Ortiz and having us on to discuss it further. I did reach out to them after I saw it. I was like, hey, just so you know, I'd be down to talk more. So yeah, I mean, I think we'll do something. We'll do something. I am, of course, down to talk. I know I have a blending stump that has a red end. Yep. Steve, why so much shading? Because it fixes my soul. It makes me feel happy and calm in times of distress. That's why. I just love to render things. I think for me, rendering and doing a little shading on stuff is what connects me with like the primordial childhood desire to create the illusion of something that is real in this space of illusions. It's like as soon as I start doing it, I'm on the highway back to the inner child. A lot of people find rendering and shading to be a drag, but I personally, because I don't really experience them as like this rote function of rendering or shading something, I experience them as the creation of form. Rendering is really fun for me. It brings me a lot of joy. And it's not, I don't find it like slavish or boring to do. If you can make rendering, drawing just on the inside of the contours so that you're adding new information and explaining what the surface is, I think you'll find that it's just as fun as throwing crazy, sketchy contour lines, if not more fun. I find it just as fun. I don't find it to be a drag at all. Diamond Writing says, if AI stops you from making art, I question if you were passionate about art in the first place. I personally think that outlook is a little, I get where you're coming from, but I think that it's a little not acknowledging the difficulties that a lot of artists go through. There's so many things tied up in the pursuit of drawing. And it takes years and years and years, and your mood changes, your situation changes, things like that. The problem with the AI is that you may be very passionate, but people react to incentives into the outside world. Even if you're extremely passionate about art, you're still a human being in a time and place and context. You're not, or it's unlikely that you are some uninfluenced psychopath who does not understand where you fit into the world and what the context of your pursuits are. So if the AIs devalue human creativity or what it means to make art, we will be affected by that. If they make it so that it's unlikely, even more unlikely, that you will make a living off art, I personally feel that there are people who otherwise would pursue art in a long-term way who would quit if they did not see a realistic path to making a living with it. I believe that because I count myself amongst those people. I'm about as mushy and bohemian about art as anybody else. But if I did not think I could make a job out of it when I was 17 or 18, I think I probably would have. I'm not sure that I would have quit making art, but you guys wouldn't be watching me do it on the internet. Like I wouldn't have gotten as good as I did, and I wouldn't have been able to foster such a deep relationship with it. I would have needed to make something else paramount in my life, just because I didn't come from a background where I could fuck around doing things that didn't make me money. And I needed to establish a life, and if I didn't, I was going to be homeless. So what you said is going to be true for some artists, but not for everybody. Let me change my picture mode here because this does not look like the drawing. That's better. Looks like this guy has a little neck pain. Yeah. I'm trying to say ML more now. Yeah, the AI is just a colloquial term, but if we're all trying to be very clear, it is a misnomer. It is just a machine learning model. Dessa says, Steven, I think I'm in trouble. I recently started this art thing and showed my coworkers some training stuff and sketches, and one thing led to another, and now I have a painting commission. Help. There's no helping you, Dessa. You just got to do the commission. Hate to tell you. You got yourself into this mess, now you got to draw your way out. We've all been there. We've all been there. That's why you got to be careful about showing your coworkers things. It is very kind of them. They want to be your patron. But you got to be prepared for that to happen every now and then. There are some very unflattering stories about me from when I was a youth of people at the pizza place that I worked at finding out that I make art, and they're like, wow, can you draw like my daughter for me? And then I carefully talk them out of it. I'm like, oh, you know, for that kind of a thing, you probably really just want a good photograph, right? Like, you don't want to do like a drawing, because I just didn't want to do commissions like that. It just wasn't what I was into. I was just like, that's the only thing that most people can think an artist wants to do, you know? It's hard to explain to them, like, yeah, I want to draw goblins for money. It's like, okay. Sure. You do my tattoo, please. It's not that fun drawing for others personally. Yeah, it comes down to what kind of artist you are. For some people, that's the only thing that's fun. They need like the purpose and drive of doing it for another person or to another person's vision. and they get stressed out doing it for themselves because they feel like it's all too up in the air or something like that. Different strokes for different folks. It all comes down to what kind of artist you are. Bye, Falls. Thanks for being here. So many people ask David Finch on streams to make them a tattoo design. Yeah, I mean, it's just one of the first things people are going to bring up. If they just if they just know you're an artist and they don't know anything about like the niches in art and the other jobs that are available, it's just like one of the first places most people go, you know? Tattoos are really some of people's most common interactions with drawing these days. All right, let's do another sketch. Let me get this off my head. You guys get it now. You've seen it. I'll remind everyone again later, but I need to move my paper over, so. I'm gonna sharpen. Don't get mad. Brace yourself. Actually, I'll mute. Give me a second. All right, I'm back. If you could name the character you're drawing, what would you name it, Steven? His name is Slanterpanch. Yep. I would definitely name him Slanterpanch for sure. He just looks like a Slanterpanch. I think Slanterpanch is it for sure. Definitely Slanterpanch.
He looks like this.
You come into his barrow, he's like,
Foolish traveler, what brings you into Slanterpanch's barrow?
that one hurt. Reminds me of my ex. Let's do a few little sketches. Little sketches, big ideas. Hey, man. What up? Shouldn't have clicked, now I can't sleep. Oh, that reminds me, I didn't... What's the thumbnail for this? What did you guys see when you clicked it? Is it the same thumbnail from yesterday? Is it me in the medieval lord costume? Or was it a frame from stream? Let me update that real quick. All right. Thank you. Thanks for letting me know, peeps. I just changed it to a screenshot of what I'm doing right now. Medieval, mildly evil. Just like Civil Chaos 1 says. I saw your video on AI art. Good stuff. Technology should be used to better humanity, not business. I think so. I'm glad you liked it. Thanks for the support, everybody. You know, there's only so many things people like doing. Art's been one of our best ones. It's one of the ones people keep coming back to over and over again. I think we should be pretty slow to let people sell the art world out to robots on the back of all of our hard work with no accountability, no oversight, no consequences. I think we should be slow to let that happen. Hello, Steven. I saw that you were in the forum of the Concept Art Association. What do you think about it? They're doing great stuff over there. I mean, you got to keep your eyes on them if you're interested in the AI stuff. And I thought the meeting yesterday was very informative. I talked about it a little bit earlier on stream, but I thought I learned a lot from hearing from the two officers from the copyright office and from Abi as well, the machine learning expert. Some of the most interesting stuff about these discussions that are going on online, and I understand that discussions is often a charitable way to put it. It's a lot of just classic internet flame war arguments, right? But one of the most interesting things that's going on is that there's a very dismissive tone to a lot of what people are saying and how they're talking about it. People who are, I don't know what they are, people who are just okay with letting the AIs run roughshod over everything that we're doing, or they want it to vacuum up all of the art that everybody has done. I'm not them, so I should be slow to speak to their actual motivations, but certainly when they debate it or when they leave messages about it, there's a dismissive tone. They want you to dismiss it. They want you to give up thinking about it yesterday. They don't want you to pry into it. The tone of what they say is often something like, you didn't know about A, B, C, D, and that's just because you're stupid, so drop it. Let's drop this discussion. And hearing from the officers at the Copyright Office and from Abi really reveals that even at the highest levels, people understand that there is a discussion that needs to be had. Things need to be looked into, that it is not so cut and dry as others might hope it is. That there's very little case law on any of this, and what should be obvious to everybody, which is that the laws as written, they didn't predict this. They didn't see this coming. Like we're supposed to figure this out and run this thing through the ringer. Everything that we have on the books was not built for this stuff. It doesn't necessarily all apply. Another thing too, like Abi, the gentleman from I think it's the AI Ethics Institute, was it, from Montreal? He's an example of what I think a lot of people are not seeing this discussion just because they're not in the, they don't have access to certain parts of the discussion. There is an assumption right now that everyone in the machine learning AI world sort of tacitly agrees with everything that the big players like Stable Diffusion and OpenAI and all of that are doing. And Abi is just one example, but I can assure you there are many more. They are not monolithic. They don't all feel the same way. I think that a lot of artists are going to feel a lot better as this discussion continues and more things come out when they see that actually a lot of machine learning and AI experts and professionals don't agree with these people and agree with us and think that they did something that is ethically, morally wrong, possibly illegal, and that they shouldn't have goddamn done that. There's people on their side of things who disagree with them. I think right now, from our siloed viewpoints, artists are it's adding to the dispiriting of artists that they probably think all the machine learning people are on board with all that stuff. And I just want you to know that that's not true. That is not true. There's people in the tech world who disagree vehemently with what they did and wouldn't have done it that way themselves. Interesting times ahead. Hellowman says, not to ignore the ongoing topic here, but I really admire how you manage to talk and hold a conversation. It probably comes innately, but I'm a shy person and would love some tips on how to express. Like how to express yourself? First of all, like I'm a pretty introverted person generally. You know, I really like my alone time. I experience social anxiety before I go to events and things like that. When I have to put something on the calendar, I get stressed by it. You know, it's always like, oh man, there's something I got to do. Like, I have all that same stuff. When it comes to expressing yourself, I think the best tips I could give is that, like, as long as you're speaking honestly, like as honestly as you can about the thing you're discussing, that's going to help a lot. Because you're not going to be caught up with internal cognitive dissonance or anything like that. You're just going to be, as they say, speaking from the heart, right? Like, you can't be speaking from the heart unless you're actually saying the things you actually believe, right? So you gotta, which sucks, because the only time that's relevant is in situations where you have to sometimes say things not everybody agrees with, or that is gonna dump the energy in the room, or, you know, if you're streaming or something like that, you're gonna have to say things that you know are gonna make people sign off or something like that. Like, but it is important to do, and it does make expressing yourself easier. And the other thing, my best piece of general public speaking advice, or just holding a conversation advice, is remember, you don't want to be uncomfortable, right? Like, when you're stressing about giving a talk or something like that, you don't want to be uncomfortable. You're you're recoiling away from the idea of being uncomfortable. It's less that you have stage fright. It's like you're afraid of stage fright, right? The people in the audience feel the same way. Everybody agrees. Everybody has a subtle handshake agreement that is just like, the best thing you could do is go up there and be totally relaxed, no matter what happens. You flub your lines, you say the wrong thing, you gotta go back over your words and correct something. Everybody wants that to be handled with just peace. Just relax, just chill. I don't know if that's gonna land the right way for you, but that particular mental turn was the biggest help for me in doing anything conversation or speaking or public wise. That was the biggest thing for me by far. Just realizing that truly, deeply, everybody who isn't a bad faith actor, anybody who's listening, anything like that, they just want you to feel fine. They just want you to feel relaxed. Nobody wants you up there coiled up and scared and with stage fright. And if you give them what they want, you get what you want. You also get to be relaxed, you know? Hi, Steven. You make your own brushes or you buy it? I have a mix of stuff in my brush palette in Photoshop. Mostly I just use the hard round for my stuff. Classic. I can recommend a brush set. Ahmed Al-Douri's brushes, which are free on Gumroad, they'll do you for everything you could want to do. It's a very generalized brush set. It's not like trying to be a particular digital version of a traditional tool or anything like that, but I use a lot of Ahmed's brushes. I've been swiping his brushes since we were in college together. He's curated a nice pack there. I guess I still have like werewolves and Bloodborne stuff on my mind because of Halloween. I'm drawing a lot of canine looking stuff, which I don't normally do. Hi, Stephen from California, Los Angeles. Hello, Suau? Swau. Quahu. Quau. Quau Arrieta. Quau Arrieta. I'm from New York. Greetings from New York. I lived in California for years, though. Lived in Pasadena for... Well, I lived in California for 9 years. No. How long did I live in California? Eight years. I lived in California for 8 years, going on 9. It might have been 9. And lived in California for 8 years, lived in Pasadena for 7. I just feel like doing a bunch of quick sketches today, so we're gonna jump around a lot here. Hey Steven, I know you're probably sick of the topic, but I've been striving to become a pro artist pretty much all my life. I'm about 1 year away from being able to actually go to an art school. I think the next part of the question is incoming. But now that the whole AI art thing is starting to emerge, I feel that that will all be a waste. Do you think it is still worth it to pursue a career, or should I keep it as a hobby? So I want you to know that I definitely understand the difficulty of this topic. I mean, if I had been going to school when this happened, I would have been completely freaked out. So I totally get it. I would be really heavily thinking about it too. I think it would be disingenuous for me to tell you that it's not going to affect the industries and change the industries. The question is, what kind of career are you trying to have and what kinds of industries are you going into? It's hard without knowing the specifics of your situation, but if I know artists, it's like, I mean, if I told you to stop, would you? Like, I'm not sure you would. Like, for a lot of artists, you're just gonna do it anyway, even if there's only the barest thread of a chance. Because we love art, we get obsessed with art. We really, for a lot of us, once you're at the point where you're thinking you're gonna go to art school, it's like, it's because you gotta do it. You have to do it. There's no other option for you. And I think it's kind of dangerous for your soul not to, if you feel that way, because you'll become spiritually constipated. That's the phrase that I use a lot. It's like a creative and spiritual constipation that will eventually wreck your being. Aside from career considerations, I think to avoid that, almost anything is worth it. You know, anything you can do to not suffer that kind of spiritual damage is probably a worthy pursuit. But on the more practical end, I don't think you should give up. I don't. We don't know how this AI thing is going to shake out. We don't know what's going to happen. It's still up for debate, even if they'll continue to get better, right? I mean, I know where I personally land. I know that I land on, yeah, they'll inevitably get better, but this is such a black swan event, so mysterious, so new, so vastly unknown, that if we're being perfectly intellectually honest, like, no one knows. No one knows. They might not actually be able to get better. I've heard from plenty of machine learning people. Well, one. I've heard from one that they actually can't get better based on their math. That we're seeing them as good as they can get based on the mathematics. It's up for debate what's going to happen with it. So if I were you, I would not quit. I would keep your eye on things. I would focus on opening your mind to the soft skills that surround art, which you were going to need to do anyway, right? You were going to have to get used to them and open your mind to them at some point anyway. All artists have to. It's just that when we're starting out, we tend to pretend we won't have to. And it's like, I'll be one of the 4 people who's just good enough on their own that I don't need to be good at networking or how I present myself or marketing or things like that. There's those 4 people who really don't need it. But for everybody else, you do need to be good. So I would open your mind earlier to those things than you maybe otherwise would have. Be out there. Look at me. I'm here doing a song and dance on the internet. You know, like it's part of the artistic life at this point. So I would open up to those things early on now and start adding on these other aspects to art, trying to make work that's relevant, trying to connect with people, having a human-to-human connection, inserting your own personhood into your work, perhaps doing something like this where you involve more of your personality and just who you are as a person and not just the drawings. I would give those things more attention early on because of what's going on with these things. But I would not quit. I would not quit. Again, I know it's hard. I would be freaking out too. But and I feel, you know, it'd kind of be easy for me to feel okay with just like pushing motivation on you, right? Like just being like, yeah, just go for it. Like everything's gonna be all right. And it's like, I know that that's like the positive affect side of these things, and people would kind of be happy that I'm doing that. But honestly, as just some fucking guy on the internet and you being a full human being over there, right? Like all I am to you is 2D pixels right now, but you are a sphere of experience, you're a whole universe. You know, what do I know? You know, and I don't want to make you think that my advice or anybody else's advice is sort of end all be all, or that you should do it. It's like, you've got to do what feels right for you, and you've got to follow your gut on these things, especially when it comes to creativity, you know, especially when it comes to creativity. No one wants to exercise their creativity in a context that feels wrong, you know, and there's many, many ways for it to go wrong. Glad I could help, Julius. It looks like this guy is bursting out of this guy's chest. A very muscular chest burster. Adu says, Steven, what are your tips on changing the way you draw? Like if you hate the way you draw, what can you do to break habits and shorthands? One of the things that I found helped the most was changing the scale that I drew at. It's like you automatically lose all your muscle memory if you draw 2 times larger than you're used to, or much smaller than you used to. I would start there. That helped me. Forces you to think through all of your moves more. For me, it was I always worked very small, and I learned a lot when I finally committed to working larger, and much larger sizes than I was used to. But it should work the other way around as well. Hold on, let me get my other pencil over here. Don't worry, I'm coming back. Wow, what a long journey. My God, I'm exhausted after that one. Really took a long time to get over there. Pedro Assisi says, I just finished my sketchbook off. So much fun, so many drawings in it. I was listening to you. Thank you, Steven. Thank you. My pleasure, Pedro. Happy to be your drawing companion as you tear through sketchbooks. Keep burning them down. Well, my eyes had adjusted so much to the warm pencil that when I started putting this down, I thought I had a blue colored pencil in my hand. Cool. It looked crazy cool. Well, you know what I mean, like cool, like awesome, but then also like cool color temperature. Ah, you get it. I'm just doing some expressionistic nonsense now because it makes me feel good, makes my hand feel good, makes my body feel good, makes my heart feel good. I love doing these drawings where you push things way too far. It's good because you get to learn where too far is. And then a lot of the times you think that you pushed it too far and then it turns out it still holds together. And that's an education too. Because it shows you just how afraid you are of pushing the forms. Nick Ravioli says, is there any particular style, artistic epoch, approach, or features in visual art that you genuinely dislike? I don't think so. Maybe I could think of something if I really get down to it, but I don't think I really attach enough to things that I dislike to sort of. It's like things that I would like dislike intensely. I just instead create neutral feelings towards them. You know, they don't. I'm just not interested. You know, disliking something is sort of a level of interest. Yeah, I don't think I have anything like that. It's like I'm very aware that anything that I don't like as a matter of taste is just that, a matter of taste. And there's going to be, it's just for other people, you know, it's not for me. Diamond Writing says, do you ever have you practiced automatic drawing? I feel like I'm always doing automatic drawing. Not gonna lie. I mean, this sketch that I'm doing right now went down feeling like I was doing automatic drawing. Whenever I'm drawing anything like this, I'm very rarely making very conscious decisions at every step. I am just sort of letting it flow. And even if I tried to create a different ritual space, and I was like, all right, now I'm gonna do automatic drawing, I'm gonna do abstractions, they would just come out like this. Like, it's almost like a joke. It's like if I try to consciously force myself into making abstractions, that's unnatural. At this point, what comes out if I draw freely is always representative squiggles that my mind is puzzle piecing into anatomical forms. Yeah, but your automatics turn into masterpieces. Mine just end up scribbles. I mean, that's just mileage. That's just years and years of practice, you know, but it doesn't mean we're not operating from the same place, you know. I just have a huge amount of familiarity with what my hand is trying to say, in a sense, as it spits things out. But that's available for everybody. You know, you will, as the years wear on and wear long, you'll come to have a very intimate and familiar understanding with what bubbles up from inside. Hey Steven, what do you think about the Force Drawing books by Mike Matesi? They're great. I haven't looked at them in a long time, but they were on my bookshelf back when I was in college. I read through the I know there's a bunch now. I think I only read the first one. But it's a great book. How many years have you been drawing? Ooh, long time. As much as this answer sucks, my whole life, but I've been improvement focused for like, at least, maybe I was improvement focused before, but I just don't remember it. I remember becoming improvement focused about 16 years ago. You think I have any idea why that came out? I got no clue. Don't know what to tell you. Really don't know what to tell you. At what age did you do your first art job? I mean, I did little, like, you know, things for my high school and things like that before, but like what I consider to be my real first gig, that was at I think I was probably 21, I want to say. That was on that for me, I think of as my first gig because I just got it like through an application, you know, not through like you know, oh, because he's the art guy around the school or something like that. Yeah, I just did a blind app, the work was good enough. I got the job. That was on an MMO, on a video game, doing concept work for costumes for an MMO. Edmundo says, Steven, how much time do I have to attend all of your classes? I don't know what you mean. I don't know what you mean. What the hell is this thing? Which MMO? It was a Russian MMO called All Odds, I want to say. ALLODS. That's Fanny's cousin, yep. Have you ever done any work designing for stage/theater? Yes, yeah. It's like not in the, not like in the doing its, how do I say it? There's a lot of that stuff in theme parks. You know, half of a theme park's programming is shows and plays and theater shows and things like that. And I worked in theme parks and themed entertainment for years. So in that capacity, I did a lot of set design, a lot of stage design, a lot of theater design. Oh, I've designed a few prosceniums in my time. Oh, I've designed a few prosceniums. Yeah. Do you think it would be possible to get any art jobs before 18 besides freelance? Like a studio position? I mean, if you're really, really good and on point for a studio, like right on the nose, like do their style exactly or exactly what they need, Yeah, it's possible. I mean, it's gonna be rare because they're gonna be less inclined to... I guess it depends what the child labor laws are for you. Like if you need a special sign off or something. Actually, I think that ends after 16 in most places. So we're talking about a real sharp 2-year sweet spot where you really need to worry about that. I think the bigger thing is that just like, it's very hard to get a job, like a full-time position in a studio if you don't do very exactly what they need at the time. And it's just less likely you're going to have that in your portfolio when you're young because you've just been making less stuff. So statistically, it's more unlikely that you will have bumped into what they do, you know? The advantage there really goes to older artists just because they have had time to put more varieties of stuff in their book. An owl with beady little eyes looks very strange. That's very wrong looking. It shouldn't be. What hardness of pencil is that? This is a black colored pencil, so it's just one hardness. They're very dark, or at least most black colored pencils are. This is the Faber-Castell colored pencils. It's like an owl's eyes should be very dark indeed, for the most part. At least I think. I'm not looking at any pictures of an owl, so I'm not too sure, but they definitely shouldn't have these beady little pupils. The owl's wrong. He's all wrong. Yeah, it's definitely some kind of a were owl. With no wings. And a strange body. The body of like a ripped Egyptian hairless cat with that double muscle disease. Taking an artistic anatomy course right now, how would you recommend applying, practicing that kind of knowledge? Honestly, what you've been seeing on this stream, just like spend hundreds of hours just doing little doodles like this one that I'll do here. Like, just do stuff like that. Do tons and tons of little tiny sketches like that. Every morning, crack open your sketchbook and do as many of these little guys as you can bear. That's what really made the difference for me. I mean, I took my anatomy classes with tons of artists who learned the same anatomy that I did, but they didn't necessarily get the same facility with anatomy that I did. And the only thing that I can see was different was that I always kept up practicing that. Just doing tons and tons of these little expressive quick doodles that linked everything together, you know, because it's not just about the shape of a quadricep or a bicep or whatever. It's about the action of all of these things in coordination across the flow of the figure and the shorthands that you find for yourself for implying those transfers of force and energy and interlocking and all of those things. And all of those things are best understood through mileage with just sloppy, energetic, happy little doodles like these. And even though they're small, you know, this one's like a couple inches tall, something like that, you can still dream as much precise anatomy into that as you would like. You know, you could come into it, you could blow it up and do it as a separate drawing, but you can just come in and poke in there and put in all the precise little anatomical insertions that you want if you have the patience for that. But it's really just about, you know, that initial energy. Don't be an Antonio, as Nick says. How long have you been training in art? Did you go to school for it? Yeah, like I implied a little bit earlier, quite a long time. I remember becoming improvement focused about 16 years ago, when I was around 14 or 13 years old. And I did go to school for it. I went to a school here in the United States called Art Center College of Design. It's in Los Angeles. It's very like Hollywood focused. Very focused on entertainment, you know, art for movies, games, things like that. Hey Steven, was wondering your opinion on using graphite studio type packs for poses for character designs, and if that would be allowed in a pro setting. Yeah, any photo pack like that that is designed and marketed for being used in a commercial capacity in the entertainment fields and things like that, as Graphite Studios is. I'm pretty sure. I mean, I haven't looked at their actual licenses, but it's clear from who they're marketing towards, I think. That's all above board, you know. They'll say it right there in the description. If they all explain when you buy them, if you read the description, it says like you are free to use these images in your commercial projects, and you're usually, if you buy it on like ArtStation or something like that, you're buying a license that says you're non-professional or you're a freelancer, so it's just one person using these and things like that. If you just buy the correct license, I mean, all that stuff is above board. You can use it however you want. With those licenses, usually the only restriction is that you don't redistribute it for money. They just don't want you reselling the photos pretending to be them. Yeah, just read the license agreement for the packs that you're buying. They usually just want you to buy the version with the license agreement that fits the scale of your endeavor. Diamond Writing says, do people actually buy pose packs when there are so many free poses available? Why? I'm a photographer and I'd love to sell figure photos. Well, studios do, professionals do, because like just amongst hobbyists, no, they very rarely will buy photo packs, like you said, because they're free. But most of the free stock photo people, like people on DeviantArt who have stock photo accounts, their licensing terms are a little more vague. They're mostly just asking for credit from nonprofit use. They're mostly just asking for credit from people who are using it for nonprofit purposes. These other photo packs, like the Graphite ones that we're talking about, they're already ready. They are expecting people to buy them and use them literally, not just as reference, but literally put them directly into photo bash paintings and things like that for commercial purposes. So a lot of people do buy those because their licensing agreements are already structured for that. They don't need to send an email to one of these free pose pack people. So yeah, people do buy them, and studios buy them. Studios in particular are very careful about that stuff because their work gets more eyes on it than an individual's work does, and it's a monetary and legal pain in the ass to get caught using something you weren't supposed to use. I think a lot of people don't really understand how careful studios are. I mean, when you work the job, you find out. Like when I worked in studio, every picture that I would ship, before it would go out in the world, it wasn't just my AD who had to look at it. The legal team would look at every picture that I shipped and ask me for all of my resources and every photo that I used, and they would have to sign off saying we did not inappropriately use any assets in the production of this thing. They're very concerned with stuff like that. Do you have any thoughts on symbolism in visual art? I know it might sound like a stupid or vague question, but it's something I'm curious about right now. I mean, if you want to do certain kinds of work, symbols are definitely going to be important. I personally don't believe in like a encyclopedic or dictionary-like interpretation of symbology. I'm personally not interested in like, an acorn in a painting signifies the promise of spring to come in a time where there's no food or famine, because the acorn will soon flower into a powerful tree, which is a symbol of sturdiness and things like that. That kind of stuff, I'm not interested in that. I don't think that kind of symbology is super useful, because the more specific it gets, the more unlikely it is the viewer will understand it anyway. What I am interested in when it comes to symbology is personal symbols. Is how do you generate your own personal symbology? And I think that that endeavor is very interesting, very deep, very complicated, and I think that does bear direct fruit in the art in the end. So I would investigate that. Look at how to develop your own personal symbology. It doesn't need to be something that anybody else would be able to grasp. The idea is that if the symbols mean a lot to you, you will invest more into your pictures, and subtly, subconsciously, that will imbue your pictures with more confidence, more depth, more mystery. And even if the audience can't say exactly what they think it means, they'll know it means something to you, you know, on a deeper level than if you're just looking up like a Renaissance painting symbols, you know, and you're just trying to co-opt these things from an era that you're not from, that don't actually have a lot of cultural impact on you. And if you do want to go down that road of generating a personal symbology, what I usually recommend to students there is begin a journal that you write in with no expectations. You're not going to show it to anybody. It's going to be your own personal journal that no one's ever going to see. But begin a journal where you begin from the assumption that everything, absolutely everything in your life is already significant, including all the most banal stuff, like your mother's favorite sweatshirt from when you were 5, every time you've been dumped, every relationship that you've had, why a certain kind of car is your favorite car, your favorite song, your least favorite song. Just assume that everything is already significant in your life, and starting from that assumption, just write, and see what comes out. Nick Ravioli says, that legal team story sounds like there is a well-established group with potential for really digging into the copyright flaws of image generators. There's a lot of potential interested parties out there. Let's say that. The story is not so simple as the people who would want you to dismiss all of this would like you to think. Stephen, what are your favorite anatomy books? My favorite reference book for anatomy is Frank Delaviere's Strength Training Anatomy. That one is the most clear and has the greatest variety of diagrams. For learning anatomy, I think you should take a class with a teacher. That's my personal opinion. I think most of the books on their own are unsatisfactory. For like the ground up understanding of anatomy, it's like I couldn't recommend just one. It'd be like they're all unsatisfactory on their own, and what you need is a combination of like 6. I don't know why I gave that thing human toenails. I really hate that. It's disgusting. What about Proko's vids? Yes. As an alternative to books, I think Proko's free anatomy stuff on his YouTube is really, really good. What if I can't afford that? Well, a huge amount of Proko's anatomy instruction is free on their YouTube. I would start there. I would check that out. I quite enjoy modern day James's gumroads on anatomy and then try and put it on mannequins. However, I'm at the beginner stage of anatomy, to be honest. James is a great teacher for the ground floor level stuff for sure. I gotta watch his anatomy videos sometime. I don't think I've ever actually watched them, just because I became familiar with him long after I was studying anatomy. But James has a lot of good resources, not just on the core anatomy knowledge, but like the draftsmanship knowledge, and that's very important stuff to supplement your anatomy knowledge with. You know, Steve, I enjoy anatomy more than people. I suck at it, even when I can spend hours and all over anatomy, especially skeletons. Well, there's just, anatomy is one of those places where art intersects with science. It's just like, it's one of the few parts of art that feels objective, you know? It feels that way. I need to be very clear. It feels that way. And certainly the medical side of anatomy is indeed objective, right? Like the bicep starts at a certain place and ends at a certain place. But once you get into the actual application, anatomy becomes as subjective as anything else, you know? Like just because you put the muscles in the right spots doesn't mean it's going to look great. You know, it takes a lot more subjective taste and the crafting of interesting shapes and interesting value compositions in order to make those things look good rather than merely accurate. But for its own sake, a lot of people really connect with those areas where art intersects with science, just because it feels like you can sink your teeth into it. There's something really there that you can understand. Another one of those spots for people, they come in through the other door, they come in through the painting side, and they find optics. They find why the world looks the way it does as they try to figure out color and values and things like that. And that's another area where people really get sucked in and where science and art intersect. Some of my favorite stuff as well. It's just important to remember that they'll never be the whole solution. At some point, unfortunately, you'll have to let go, remember that it's not a science, and that art is a dance, and that anything goes. All we have to lose are our chains, Jerry. Ayub says, I've got your Shading Secrets course is very helpful. I'm very happy to hear that. Enjoy. May all your shading be smooth. May all your forms be interesting. May all your shapes be captivating. Andre King says, just dropped by to congratulate you on your position regarding AI art. Love that video. Aw, thank you. I appreciate it. Nice of you to congratulate me for my position. That's a new one on me, getting congratulated for a position. It's just my, you know, after looking into it and doing research, it's just my honest outlook on it. I don't know what to tell you, you know? I dug in, I poked around, I found some stuff, and the conclusions were obvious for me. What are your thoughts regarding tracing, using a projector to get a realistic depiction for a portrait? Most people use it, most people who trace for something like a portrait, they do use it as a starting point. And it is a good starting point for, if you're really concerned with getting a precise likeness. It's a very good starting point for things like that. But tracing on its own will never be enough. You know, I mean, if it was, it would just solve that problem for absolutely everybody, and no one would really worry about anything else, right? But tracing needs to be, at least if you want it to be excellent, it needs to be controlled and filtered through an understanding of overlaps of the way that the forms are actually arranged. Otherwise, you just get a very dead sort of uniform line that doesn't speak to the way that things move past each other, interlock with each other, and affect each other, which is, that is really best learned through hand drawing. So the best traces are usually a hybrid of those things. It's the precision of having the image right underneath your hand, but then you're adding in everything that you know from how you would draw the thing by hand. Fabio says, hi, Steve. Do you like or practice automatic drawing? I would like to hear your thoughts about it. Someone asked me this earlier, and I'll say the same response. I feel like I'm doing automatic drawing right now. I mean, it doesn't feel any different for me. This page is just like, well, you know, I'm just kind of sitting here happily letting my hand go for a walk, you know? I sort of feel like I'm doing automatic drawing all the time. And indeed, I think if I tried to affect automatic drawing and just like, in a sense, force myself to do stuff willy-nilly, inevitably, stuff like this is just what would arise. You know, this is what my hand does at this point. Sir Klassen says it's not ethical, but it's almost impossible to stop legally. It's unfair and unjust, but it's in the name of science. Yeah, I disagree. There's a large discussion to be had. I don't know what to tell you. A lot of the people who are not professionals that I talk to share your sentiment and say there's nothing you can do about it. But weirdly enough, whenever I talk to a professional, they don't seem so sure. Hi, Hubs. Hubs, I saw your email that you sent me the other day, by the way. Sorry I haven't gotten back to you yet, but you honor me. Very nice drawing that you did, and it was very kind of you to dedicate to me. Thank you so much, bud. Keep drawing. Maybe you dedicating that werewolf creature to me is what contributed to me doing a bunch of werewolf sketches this morning and on stream as well. Who knows? Sorry, talking to my wife about dinner. What would you recommend to do in order to get my first commission? If you're looking for first commission, have 3-ish pieces, 3 to 5, I would say. You don't need a huge number for just a commission, you know. You need more if you want like a job, like a regular job, but for just a first commission, 3 to 5 pieces that feel coherent within something that you want to do. You know, they're people's Dungeons and Dragons characters or flowers, like whatever the kind of thing is you want to get commissioned for. And then just go to a public community about that thing. Go post on a Dungeons and Dragons Reddit or a Dungeons and Dragons public Discord and just share your work and say, hey everyone, I love D&D too. Here's what I make art. Here's what it looks like, and I'm open for commissions if anybody's interested. I think for first commissions, a lot of people have success in those public venues like that. The trick is to go for a specific audience. That's usually the way to go. Steven, what is the name of this one? Thyrandor, definitely. There's no way anyone's referencing this guy and not calling him Thyrandor. What? You seek Thyrandor? The half owl, half Egyptian cat, half sexy male bodybuilder? Lycanthrope chimera who lives deep in the woods and who was only spotted once every 1,000 full moons? Ah, yes, Thyrandor, yes, It's interesting that you'd be looking for him. I may have some advice on how you can find him. If you can bring me the knuckles of a few pesky children who have been stealing carrots out of my vegetable patch. That got dark. That got real dark. Oh yes, come to Sturban. I'm being so lazy about looking up what an owl looks like. I just can't be bothered to like open the tab and type it. What pencil is this? It's not graphite. No, this is a black colored pencil. So what are these colored pencils, man? They're technically wax based, right? Or are the Polychromos oil based? I forget now. Anyway, yeah, it's not graphite. It's a black colored pencil. I like the black colored pencils go down on marker paper. That's what I'm drawing on right now. I'm rapidly approaching my daily drawing limit. I'll have you know. I'd already drawn for a long while this morning. Coming up on my 4-hour cutoff. I don't know, I kind of like Thyrandor. He came out kind of cool. I didn't have a lot of faith in him there at the beginning, but he's kind of silly. I like him. Daryl Grant says, I've never really used blending stumps, but while watching your Secrets of Shading, I decided to test a soft paintbrush for a similar effect, and I'd highly recommend it. Yes, paintbrushes work nicely as well. I like the stump for just the sheer control, because it has like a pencil-like tip. You can really get it in there and do details with it. But on the softening side, just the softening aspect, the paintbrush is perfectly good. Kind of spreads the values out nicely. Why is it so noisy in my neighborhood today? It's unusually noisy. I mean, it's always a little noisy, but it's a little crazy today for a random Wednesday. Hassan says, question, what paper are you using? This is Bienfang marker paper. That's what it looks like. Use this stuff all the time. It takes pencil nicely. You can't go crazy with erasing or anything. It's a very thin paper. It's actually translucent. It's almost like a, if you've never used it before, you might confuse it for tracing paper or something like that. You can see here if I put something under it. Very translucent. But it takes pencil nicely. You just can't do crazy erasing on it, so I wouldn't recommend it for like really involved finished drawings. But for sketches, it's very nice. And yeah, of course, it takes marker very well. The beloved Sam Lamb says, Steven, on a scale of 1 to Zeus, how zaddy is this stream going to be today? It's already pretty zaddy. I mean, that's pretty zaddy. That's pretty zaddy. We got some discarded stuff on the floor that's pretty zaddy. I mean, that's pretty zaddy. That was what we started the stream with. Any Discords you recommend for critique? Check out mine. It's very, very active in my Discord. I just say that because I haven't checked out that many Discords, so I'm not the best guy to give an answer for that. But I know my Discord through my Patreon, they're always chatting in there. They're always sharing art. They're always being nice to each other. Someone's always like, yeah, here's my art. And then someone else is like, hey, I like you a lot. You're cute and you're smart. And it's like, oh, thank you. It's very nice. Let me get a little more contrasty spots. Selena says, dang it, I'm so late. Glad I still made it. You're still here. And the recording will always be there. Nice to have you, Selena. You're still here. You made it. You're drawing. It only takes a few lines, just a few quick scribbles to iterate the ritual, to produce drawings, to exercise your primordial creativity. What pencil are you using? It looks nice. This is the Faber-Castell Polychromos black colored pencil. Ooh, losing my voice a little bit. Oh God, I'm out of water. What are your thoughts on social media? Does having a high social media followers matter to you? It depends what you need to do. I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, social media is a giant octopus that's gnawing at the very heart of the world. But if you want to have an independent side art business or something like that, social media is probably indispensable for you because it's a place to build a following. If you don't want to have like something like that, an independent side art business, if you just want to work for studios or something like that, it can actually be completely irrelevant. You really don't need to have any social media following or even any accounts. You can just put your portfolio together on your own, quiet, in the dark, covered in worms, and then you can send it in a little PDF package to studios when they have job listings or whatever. You can have a great career in the walled garden of the studios and have no social media presence. So it depends entirely on what you want to do, what your goals are. How much do you stream? 3 times a week these days. Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Usually in the AM Eastern time. But some days like today, start later, do it in the afternoon instead. You know, I spend a lot of time encouraging my students not to burn themselves out and to do unrealistic expectations or to demand things from the art practice when they're not coming up naturally. So I practice what I preach. I don't stream every day so that I have plenty of time to rest. If I'm just not into it in the morning, I got other stuff I want to do, I'll do it in the afternoon. It's like, why are we doing this art thing if we're not into taking it easy while we do it? We want to enjoy it, don't we? Where is Staven, Stove, and the gang? They're around. I've gotta get out of my I've got to stop being embattled in a science fiction combat against machines that make art, so I can get back to some things I was doing with arguably the most important intellectual property that Marvel, Sony, and Disney have failed to buy yet. That is to say, Drawing Ascendant, The Eternal Chronicles of Steven Zapata, Lasting Legacy 1, Epic 1. Gagandeep says, what are your thoughts on MFA? That's Master of Fine Arts, right? Is it worth the $70K debt from Laguna College of Art and Design? It depends who you are, you know? I hate to say it, but it's like, it comes down to what you need out of your life. How important is the money to you? There's not a lot of jobs whose requirement is an MFA in fine art. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. Do you see a lot of job listings that say requirements and MFA in fine art? It's just like, it's really not, doesn't come up that much. But so if you're asking, I take it if you're asking about the debt, like, is it going to pay off career-wise? It's like, only if you're extremely out there and you're going to push your career and you're going to really make sure this thing happens on your own. No one's going to hand you anything on a plate just because you have an MFA in fine art. But we have to also acknowledge here that some people just, money is not an issue. And there's a lot of people like that in art. So if you're one of those people and you want to go to an MFA to make connections, to forestall doing something else for a few years, you just like school, it's like, you know, I get it. If the money is not an issue for you, like, do it, you know, it'll be fun, you know. Depends on the person and the situation. A lot of people just don't want to acknowledge that, for the most part, being in school is more fun than working. It's like, if we take all of the terrible, bad incentives and the economics out of it, it's like, schools have a particular brand and students view them a particular way, and it's about how employable you are coming out and things like that. But there is another side of school, which is just like, it's fun to be in school, you know? And I can respect it, you know? That's not why I went to school, but it's fun to spend all your days learning and to, you know, it's one of the best places to generate tight relationships with people. It's like, if you get honest with it about that way, it's just like, yeah, I just want to, you know, have the identity of a student for a few years and enjoy learning new things every day and make new best friends. It's like, that sounds like it's worth, you know, $70,000. It's just like, what are you expecting when you go into it, you know? Andrew Griffith, who I believe is my friend Clayton. I agree. I wish I could just live at the Art Students League. Yeah, man. That's what I'm talking about. It's like, it's just fun. You know, we got to acknowledge that too. Sam Land says, teacher, I have a question. You know, I just finished a piece I'm proud of, which I did entirely in Procreate. Interestingly, I'm now motivated to explore other tools, including my pen tablet or pen display, but finding that to be less tactilely fun. The broad question, thoughts on balancing between exploring new tools versus not fixing what ain't broken. I think on the digital side, the differences between what's possible in Procreate and what's possible on a pen tablet or pen display are so slim. They're basically capable of all the same things. So in that realm, I would say don't fix it if it ain't broke. You know, that's what I would lean towards. It's like the iPad is a very comfortable situation to work in. You know, I really like working with the iPad in hand. And it's just like anything you could do, for the most part, anything you could do on a screen tablet in Photoshop or Clip or something like that, it's like you could do it in Procreate too. So if it just feels comfortable for you, it feels intuitive for you, and it has the right tactile sensation, just make work. You know, that's what I would say. It'd be different if you were asking me, like, should I try 3D? There I'd be like, yeah. You know, like once we're talking about like completely different mediums, and the things that are possible between the mediums being vastly different, there I think it's much more important to explore and stretch. But we're really just like, you know, what Photoshop and Procreate and Clip can and can't do compared to each other is really like splitting hairs, you know, for the most part. Again, I'd be saying a different thing to someone who needs to work in a pipeline and do files with hundreds of layers coming from multiple artists. It's like, you need Photoshop. You got to be on Photoshop. You're not going to be able to do that stuff on Procreate. But for drawing stuff, yeah. It's like we're really splitting hairs as to what the differences between them are. All right. I like Thyandor. Thyandor? All right, let's just do a couple. I'm gonna start wrapping up because we've been going for 2 hours, 40 minutes coming up. I'm hitting my 4-hour cutoff for drawing so that I don't burn out, that I continue to draw happily for the rest of all my days. And I'm getting hungry too. So let's do a few more little figure sketches like this. Tiny little thumbnails. While we begin to emotionally prepare ourselves to say goodbye. Hi, Steven. Have you ever done your best piece? Like, how do you know? Can you put all your existing art skill in one piece? I think if you've been doing art for a long time, it's unlikely you'll do a lot of pieces where you put all of your skill in there, because usually everything you know isn't relevant to every piece. You know, not every piece needs all of your knowledge of anatomy or all of your knowledge of fabric folds or all of your knowledge of, engineering or architecture or things like that. It's pretty rare that they would have everything. But there, sometimes you just know. Yeah, sometimes you just finish one where you're like, yep, that's the best one. And I think you just feel it in your bones for yourself. The thing is that your audience doesn't have to agree with that. They can have a very different reaction. Another one can be their favorite. Your favorite piece might get, you know, no likes on social media or stuff like that. But you'll know in your bones that that was your favorite of the ones that you've done. Hervet's Creative Corner says, love your thoughts about everything. Good night. I'll get my narcoleptic ass 6 hours of bad quality sleep and then have math test tomorrow where I know absolutely nothing about what the test is. Oh boy. Hope I didn't contribute to that. Thanks for being here. Glad you liked the stream. Go get some rest. And good luck on your test. Tiny drawings, big ideas. Where's that from? That's from some art book. I want to say that's from a Loomis book. I've always been very influenced by Frank Frazetta's little figure sketches in pencil that he would do in his sketchbooks. I remember seeing those in I think the Rough Works Frazetta sketchbook. I think that's what it was called, Rough Works. I remember seeing those and being like, it's all right there. That's what it all is. Give me a second, I gotta close a window. It's that hour where all the motorcycles rip up and down my street. I put your streams on while I'm tattooing. My clients love it. Wow, that's crazy. I hope they actually like it, and it's not just that they're a captive audience. It's like you've got the needle, and you're like, here, you're gonna love this guy. And they're like, yeah, he's great. They just want to make sure that you're enjoying your time. Hub's Junkyard says, Steve, you officially have a new patron. My gratitude is endless. Thank you, patrons. Thank you, new patron. Thank you, Hubs. And really a thank you to all of my patrons over on Patreon. I really appreciate the support that you guys give me. It really means a lot. You know, it all adds up, you know? It's because of you guys that I can actually invest good amounts of time doing stuff like this and being out here around in public instead of continuously disappearing into the NDA client hole. Every one of you patrons, you make this possible for everyone who's here. Rad Sully says, hey, I noticed you started off that sketch with the knee thigh. How do you best determine where to start off a sketch? I've always been taught to do the cranium and build the gesture off of that. When I'm just free sketching like this, I'll start anywhere. Like I vary it up. I think the place I usually start from most often is the rib cage and waist. But it's really a personal taste thing in the long run, I think. If we want to try to get objective about it, I would recommend, here, let me do a little diagram here. I learned this from Bern Hogarth's book. He advises starting with the rib cage and the hip block because they determine everything else, right? The arms can go any which way off of here. Legs can go any which way off of here. There's more, lower leg can bend and wind up in different positions. And the neck can move around and the head can wind up in a variety of places. But it's all controlled by these two initial pieces, the rib cage and the hip box. So by his inklings, this is the best place for your money to start off with and to establish the gesture, and then everything else can be built off of that. If you start with the head, it's like you can place it anywhere on the page, and then it doesn't really tell you anything about, the rib cage could be here, it could be here, it could be here, and then everything flops out after that. But you can really say everything, well, not everything, but the core thing about various gestural poses with just an indication of the rib cage here, hip block here. You can tell that this is the back of the rib cage, that the head would maybe go off and look off into the distance. Maybe we'd have a leg coming up there, something like that. You can get squash and stretch off the rib cage and the hip block. It's like it's not set in stone or anything like that, but if you get used to it, it is a logical place to start. But like I said, it's really like once you kind of figure out what you're doing, you can start anywhere and you'll figure it out. It's not a big deal. Biblically accurate stick figure. Yeah, indeed. Indeed, my friends. Right, sorry, I got more dinner talk, more dinner coordinating. You know how it is. It's all husbands and wives talk about. What are we going to do for dinner? Top 5 art book recommendations. I don't know what my top 5 would be, but I'd say my number 1 is usually Drawing Lessons from the Great Masters by Robert Beverly Hale. Not Anatomy Lessons from the Great Masters. Very different kind of book. Drawing Lessons from the Great Masters by Robert Beverly Hale. Fantastic book, a classic. And will really gauge your capacity to put up with design mumbo jumbo. It's not mumbo jumbo. It's the real deal, as far as I can tell. But there's very few books that cover drawing in that way. And then if you wind up really liking that stuff and you want a book that's like, it's about drawing, but there's no drawings. There's a few diagrams, but really very few. It's mostly talking about drawing and like the way it works, almost the philosophy of it, but really more about like the way it works in some really nuts and bolts ways. Harold Speed's The Practice and Science of Drawing. Very old-fashioned writing. Not for everybody. Like I said, all words, but I would be lying to you if it's just true. I think about the stuff in that book all the time. All the time. It pointed out things to me about drawing that you very rarely hear covered elsewhere that really wind up being so foundational. Like the difference between drawing optically and drawing by touch, and the kinds of artists that make either one of those work. His in-depth explanation of how rhythms control design and how people arrange compositions around that, which is like that. You would think from me saying that that's sort of the whole lesson, but it's like there's like 5 chapters in there about that. Again, it'll be a litmus test for what you're willing to put up with when it comes to talking about drawing, but it's a great book, you know. Loomis's Creative Illustration is a good book, is a very good book. I have read it, but I have to admit I don't remember a lot of it because it's so big. I think I was kind of trying to like, when I read it, I was kind of trying to like plow through it to get an overall feel and see what I could pull out of it quickly. So I wouldn't say I did a close read, but it is a good book. It just hasn't had as much of an effect on me. It's very process focused, and that's useful, but I think most artists wind up getting caught up with their own process rather than following other people's. So there's only so useful something like that could be, I think. It's not all process though. I want to be clear. A lot of creative illustration it's not just about how he advises composing values, but he does talk about the principles of value composition. Like, why does it matter what's high contrast and what's low contrast and things like that? There is that in there as well, but yeah, like I said, a lot of it is trying to explain a particular process, which he put in a valiant effort, but it's like, it's illustration. It's everyone's gonna do it their own way, you know? Lo-Fi Sketches says these look lovely. Thank you. Have you read Betty Edwards' second book? Right Side of the Brain was very meh, but Drawing the Artist Within covered some really interesting ideas. I didn't know there was a second book. Sounds interesting. I'll have to check it out. Very interesting indeed. That title certainly piqued my interest. On the Artist Within, yeah. Harold Speed book is on Gutenberg. It's in the public domain now, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, that's a very old book. Like I said, the language in there is not going to be for everybody. It's you know, old-timey writing at this point. It is good, though. I mean, it's so good. It's a great book. If you're at all into, like, not just how to draw, but like I said, the not how to draw, but like the mechanics of drawing, like how we think about it, I can highly recommend it. Also, if anybody is interested in hot girls here, you might want to click on the link that girls s69.xyz put in the chat before I ban them. All right, if you were interested in that, I hope you got in there in time. I'm sure there's some very hot girls over there. I looked up Thyrandor on YouTube and the results were videos I watched today in local videos. That's weird. Any advice on how to study, learn composition and storytelling? I think for that, the complete practice is the way to go. Like do it, like do actual compositions and real storytelling. So illustrate a book that you love or redesign a property that you love or something like that. I think that's the best way to practice that. The way that I used to teach it back at Art Center was I would assign short stories that were, it took less than 4 hours to read, right? So pick something very, very short. And then you would make an MVP, that is to say minimum viable product, which is the bare minimum it would take to explain the breadth of the designs that are in the story. Or if you wanted to do raw storytelling, like just composition to go from beginning to end of the story, a story that is a 4-hour audiobook, right? Or that takes 4 hours for you to read, it would be tough to tell the story in just 12 images. So if you were going to do something of that length, I'd recommend trying to pick 12 key moments and illustrate those. And that's the best practice in my book, as opposed to any kind of like abstract ideas about those things. I think that the base knowledge of the abstractions that are useful there, most people can get them out of Marcos Mateo Mestre's Framed Ink. That's what I would advise. One read through of that, just get the basic ideas into your head of how weights in a picture control composition, rhythm, and stuff like that. That book is called Framed Ink. And then after that, you got to do projects. You got to do the real deal. You got to illustrate stories and things like that. All right, everybody, I'm going to wrap it up in a minute here. Oh, I wish there was water in here. I'm very thirsty. Yo, what's up? The little sketches you're doing remind me of Frank Frazetta's caveman sketches. Thank you so much, Majkan. Yeah, I did reference those earlier explicitly. I've always been very inspired by his little pencil drawings that he did in his sketchbooks. They're a great way to practice. Keep them small, tiny drawings, big ideas. All the power's in there. Yeah, I'm gonna have to run here. I'm getting hungry and I gotta get dinner going. Will I leave the stream with 3 new books? Thanks, Stephen. My pleasure. Truly my pleasure. Gino Mariglia says, by the way, got caught randomly saying, "Ride me, Mario." Had to try and explain. Thanks for that. Cheers. I'm glad to know that's out there in the world. I am glad to know that's out there. Sam Lamb has a quote from Harold Speed here. The business of the artist is to see to it that his talent be so developed that he may prove a fit instrument for the expression of whatever it may be given him to express. If you're into that kind of language, it's a great book. It's a great book. I'm into that kind of language. So it was a very pleasant read for me back when I read it. Do you advise reading drawing books over watching drawing videos on YouTube? No, not like I implied. I think it comes down to what you're trying to do, actually. I think that's what's most important. I think for a lot of the mechanical stuff, or like how to draw, like how to put down lines, how to shade, things like that, nothing beats videos, because you can actually watch it happen instead of looking at just still images in progression. So for the nuts and bolts, the nitty gritty, I think videos are better. The books are good, and particular books are good if you want to hear the philosophical thoughts about drawing, or the why of drawing. There's been a lot of good material on that, and that stuff really is the purview of the written word for the most part. Like you want those things put in a concise, edited, thoughtful form in order for them to have the most impact. So there, I think drawing books are really, really very, very good. Books like Harold Speed's The Practice and Science of Drawing, or Robert Beverly Hale's Drawing Lessons from the Great Masters. Kenneth Caro says, have you read anything by Michael Matesi? Has helped me a lot with figure drawing in the beginning. I have not, actually. His book started cresting when I had already come out of my initial anatomy and figure drawing learning. So I know he's great. I've seen a lot of his diagrams, and I know a lot of people who he has been like their main influence for anatomy and structure. So I know he's great. I just personally haven't pursued his stuff. Goodbye, Little Things in Life. Goodbye, Luckful. Bye, Bima. Bye, Thilakoto. Goodbye, Sam Lamb, my dear Sam Lamb. Goodbye, Lo-Fi Sketches. Goodbye, Sir Jukes. Goodbye, Pedro Assisi. See you Friday? Yep, you bet. Yeah, that would be in the morning. If you don't see me on Friday, it's because I'm doing something that you guys will get to see next week and that you'll really like. So, but that notwithstanding, yes, I will be here on Friday. Goodbye, Diamond Writing. Goodbye, Andre Kling. Have you ever checked the new Masters Academy? Yes, I have. Good stuff. I have an account right now. Yes, I do. I do have an account right now. I had an account like a year or two after they launched. I had an account for a couple years there, and then I took a long break, and then I recently got one again. Great reference library. I love their image library. I like the way they light their photos. Goodbye, Karem. Goodbye, Saman Kutcher. Goodbye, Lord Mervers. Hey, Steven, how do I join the Discord and the course? The Discord you can join by getting on the Patreon. If you sign up for the Patreon, there's a $5 tier and a $10 tier. Both get you into the Discord. That gets you right in there. The course is its own product, its own separate side thing. Go to formfromimagination.com to check out the course. All right, everybody, I'm gonna run. And we just mentioned the course, so I'm gonna say goodbye with the good old course ad. Bye, everybody.
Come in. Oh.
Hello, Joseph, is it?
Hi, Dr. Zapata. Yes, Joseph. Joe. How are you?
I'm well. What seems to be the problem, Joe?
Well, I'm having difficulty drawing from imagination.
Oh. Joseph, just so you know, that's totally normal. Why don't you tell me a little more about your problem? Is it that you can only draw from imagination if you're completely alone?
Doc, I can't ever draw from imagination.
What about if you're completely relaxed?
When I'm totally relaxed, I can't imagine a thing.
I see. Joseph, it's important to know that even with severe cases like this, there's always hope. I can prescribe an experimental therapy called Form from Imagination.
Form from imagination?
It's early days, but clinical trials are extremely promising. Why don't you try this for 6 months and then check back in with me?
Okay, I'll do whatever it takes. Did you just draw this?
Oh yeah.
Wow, it's amazing. Hey, Doc, do you ever have trouble drawing from imagination?
Oh no.
You wouldn't. I mean, you drew this.
That's right.
Wow.
Form from Imagination is an experimental therapy and is not yet approved for use by the FDA. Do not use Form from Imagination if you are already taking any prescriptions for drawing from reference, working side size, or tracing photos you didn't even take. Stop taking Form from Imagination if you experience any of these side effects: loss of interest in your personal projects, megalomaniacal self-confidence, hallucinations, unless they're the kind you're hoping for, drawing better than Steven Zapata, or feelings that purchasing the course was enough and you don't really need to do the exercises. Call your doctor if you have stiff gestures, flat forms, or boring ideas to address a possible life-threatening condition. Full sketchbooks have been reported with Form from Imagination and medicines like it. Other risks include long-term art careers, too many clients, and being worth more than you're charging for. Call your doctor today and ask about Form from Imagination.